All right, the more I think about this entire situation, the more pissed off I'm getting, so I have to make the video because fuck these people. Mountaintop Studios, the studio that just released Spectre Divide, I don't know, about 6 months ago, they just announced that they're shutting down. And not just the game is shutting down, the entire studio, which is pretty wild considering in the last 4 years, they have raised $86 million in funding, with $30 million of that coming just in the last 12 months. What? To catch you guys up to speed, Spectre Divide is what they call the genre-evolving, free-to-play 3v3 tactical shooter driven by duality. Meaning you can control 2 bodies in real time, letting you defend 2 sites at once, cover your own cross, or even trade yourself, master tactical gunplay, and an arsenal of future tech to achieve infamy. If you guys don't know, this is the game that Shroud said he was making, I believe alongside Sacriel, who is another social media influencer. They partnered with Mountaintop Studios, who I believe was also published by Splash Damage, and Spectre Divide is the game that they apparently made. Shroud released multiple videos leading up to the launch of the game saying he was working with this studio to create this game, and between launch and the first 30 days of the game being out, Shroud only streamed about 35 hours of the game compared to 138 hours of Deadlock, which was blowing up at the time. And here comes a little bit, I'm gonna sprinkle a little speculation in here. I'm gonna venture to say Shroud didn't really have much to do with this project outside of being an influencer face to the game, which is what really pisses me off. I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. I wanna dial back to the $30 million that was raised in January of 2024, literally 13 months ago. An article written in January of last year from Brendan Sinclair of GamesIndustry.biz, he says the latest funding was led by Zach Zaharis, apparently from Anthos Capital. He will join the studio's board of directors, as well as a few other capital investment groups. But in addition, Mountaintop brought on board a number of angel investor influencers, including Shroud, Tarek, It's Timmy, Zed, Co-Carnage, Sacriel, as well as NBA star Paul George. I'm looking around for statements from any of these influencers about what the actual fuck happened here, and none of them have said a goddamn thing. Now, the reason I'm so fucking hot about this, I mean, it's a multi-pronged approach. The first one is the fact that they're offering refunds to people who purchase anything from the beginning of season 1 to the close date, which was only 2 weeks ago. Meaning if you bought something 3 weeks ago, go fuck yourself. Now, I understand that it is very, very difficult to break into the multiplayer scene. If you don't have a good gimmick, if you don't have great marketing, your chances of success in this space is very low. But in their own letter to the fans, they say the Season 1 launch hasn't achieved the level of success we needed to sustain the game and keep Mountaintop afloat. How in the fuck have you blown through $30 million plus in the last year that you can't afford to keep these servers afloat and keep people working on this game for the long term? They say since the PC launch, we stretched our remaining capital as far as we could, but at this point, we're out of funding to support the game. This means Mountaintop will be closing its doors at the end of this week. $30 million in a year, gone. Poof. Disappeared. And when you scroll through the Spectre Divide socials, you see that they're hosting $10,000 tournaments. They're paying influencers to play the game. They're blowing through money. Like, this isn't a ragtag group of people who are just struggling to make a game and sustain it with updates and servers long term. This isn't what I would consider an indie project when they have multiple seed rounds, $86 million in funding from multiple capital investment groups. You have veterans, according to you guys, from Blizzard, Riot, Epic Games, Bungie, and more. How did you fuck this up? And look, at the end of the day, when I played Spectre Divide, I had a good time. I actually enjoyed the gun mechanics. It felt like a very slowed down version of Valorant, which I was actually a fan of. But the player base just, it fucking basically disappeared overnight. The art style I really vibed with. That being said, $86 million in funding, and what we got was a small handful of maps that basically looked identical across all of them. They had different layouts, but that was essentially it. get. You had a very limited character creator, like customization system, and your character models looked like dog water. They weren't interesting at all. How does $86 million provide us with this? And what irritates me is you have these influencers who are jumping on board and telling people that they're making a game when at the end of the day, Shroud's role in this project was lead gameplay advisor. He probably play tested, gave feedback, and that was about it. Whereas people are looking at that and saying, Shroud's actually working on a video game. He's in engine. And they use this as ammo to shit on other YouTuber ran projects. Hey, by the way, I'm actually working on a project of my own. And I hate that I'm seeing these YouTubers attach themselves to projects, tell people it's going to be the greatest fucking thing on earth, and then when it shuts down and people who maybe bought in or bought skins or whatever can't get refunds unless you bought it in the last 2 weeks, they say nothing. The game was only out for 6 fucking months, and you can't refund people who bought it? You knew the doors were closing 4 months ago. And instead of, trying to just dig deep and actually develop content that might bring people to the game, you instead blew $10,000 in an optic tournament. You sponsored a bunch of content creators as a last-ditch effort to try and bring people back, even though that never fucking works. Season 1 Operation Flashpoint dropped February 25th with a new map, a new battle pass, a new sponsor kit, and a new buy menu. Definitely not enough to keep the game afloat. My question is how does $86 million only get us 4 maps at launch? How does $86 million only get us a small handful of content going into this launch? And how the fuck can $30 million not contribute to keep this game going a little bit more? Or is this one of those things where you're seeing the player numbers not going up, and in order to not spend every single fucking dime you guys have, you're opting to call it because there's no way forward? And that might be the case. I don't believe that Mountaintop Studios is out of money, because I don't see any way they could possibly have spent $30 million in a year after doing that seed round and not even have enough money to refund to the people who bought into the game. I just don't buy it. This is yet another free-to-play, freemium experience with the battle passes, the skins, the cosmetics, and if you bought into it, before 2 weeks ago, you're fucked. This is the exact reason why I don't spend money on free-to-play titles. And if I do, it's like a battle pass here, a battle pass there, because we just don't know what's going to happen. As somebody who has a team that is developing, granted, it's not a multiplayer game, it's nowhere close to that, but developing a game that we're putting a shit ton of love and passion and sweat equity into, I can't fucking imagine blowing through $86 million and not being able to sustain a game longer than 6 months. It's absolutely pathetic. And it blows my mind that when you actually do the math, we're developing our game for like less than 0.5% of the money that these guys were able to raise in the last 12 months. And you have the balls to sit there and say that you guys did everything you could, including trying to find a publisher, additional investment, and/or an acquisition. In the end, we weren't able to make it work. The industry is in a tough spot right now. You guys had $86 million to develop a video game over 4 years. What are you talking about? You were given a golden ticket that most development studios would fucking kill for. And I want everybody to understand who is watching this video, it does not take $86 million to develop a video game. This isn't a matter of the industry being in a tough spot right now. This is complete mismanagement from the ground up. And I want everybody to be wary about these new free-to-play games that keep coming out, that keep doing the same fucking thing. All this does is make it harder for the next team with a great idea who wants to get into the space. It just makes it so much harder to trust them and to even give them a fucking shot. Because that's where we're at, with so many games dying left, right, and center. And if you purchase something within the last 30 days, you can't get a refund. It had to be within the last week window, whatever the case is. It makes it harder for people to even want to invest time into new IPs from new studios that are just trying to make things work. After playing Spectre Divide and actually enjoying it, I never in my wildest dreams would have believed that that game cost $86 million to make. But at the end of the day, if you were a fan of Spectre Divide, I feel bad for you, because they had a decent product. And I really don't know what the fuck happened. And for everybody else who pretty much called this the moment the game was announced, I mean, yeah, you nailed it. I would have thought the game would have limpered for like a few years just trying to, you know, do something, but 6 months is mismanagement. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, and there is no any other way to put it. And you know what pisses me off even more? When we did our game jam a couple of years ago, I had Mark Toronto, who was one of the co-founders of Mountaintop Studios, come and give a speech and give people advice, give aspiring game developers advice on how to make it in the industry. And from where I'm sitting right now, looking at the facts and looking at how the game's trajectory is gone and how much money was spent, he is part of that upper management of this studio that clearly had something wrong internally. And it actually it irritates me, it makes me sad, and at the end of the day, it pisses me the fuck off. Let me know what you guys think down below. This was a rant. The more I sat on this, man, at first I heard the news, I was like, God damn, Spectre Divide, that sucks, that's unfortunate. Then I started looking into their financials and realized that we weren't dealing with a little ragtag indie group of new developers. We were dealing with a multi-million-dollar studio, almost $100 million raised in 4 years. Mind-blowing as somebody who literally for like the first 2 years of development of our project was struggling to be able to pay bills and make sure that our guys make a livable fucking wage. Is it envy? Is it jealousy? No. It's understanding that these studios nowadays are so bloated and there's so much unnecessary overhead that these budgets explode, and it makes people think that you need hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to make a video game. You don't. And don't let anybody ever fucking tell you that you do. Anyways, my name is Big Fry. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe for more industry news, FPS content, and more. And I'll see you on the next one.